All right, we're live. I'm going to give it just a second to make sure it's live everywhere. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Constructive Liberty Podcast, intentionally designing a lifestyle of freedom. Today, I've got an interview, a chat with Brian Aleksivich from the Lots Project. If any of you guys are on MeWe or Float, you've seen him all over. He puts out a ton of content and does quite a few interviews on a few other podcasts. And so we're going to have a great chat about what he's been up to in life. But before we jump into that, I've got a quote I want to share with you. This is from John, I'm going to butcher his last name, John Muir. And he said, "How lavish is nature in building, pulling down, creating, destroying, chasing every material particle from form to form, ever changing, ever beautiful." And I think that ties into what we're going to talk about today, tearing down and rebuilding life after 7 years on a homestead. Brian, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Ken, how's it going?
Going great. So, who is Brian? Tell me a little about what took you up to, from being a kid to where you started the homestead.
Oh, man. That was a kind of a crazy ride. I mean, well, it's always crazy ride. So I'm 44. So kind of normal, typical little town growing up. Town had like 7,000 people in it, high school, athlete, whatever. Went to college when I really shouldn't have because I didn't know what I really wanted to do, but it was kind of what you did. Ended up leaving college before I finished and went to a community college. Didn't really wasn't my thing. Like I went to get an associate's degree because I had like double the credits needed for it, and they told me I needed a half a credit gym class or something, and I'm like, yeah, whatever, I'm not going to drive 45 minutes to play badminton for 20 minutes just to get a piece of paper. So quit that. So I never got a degree, spent a lot of money and time, but I learned a lot in college. A lot. And then kind of bartended for a decade, waited tables and stuff, and made a living just talking to people and interacting and being personable, and learned a lot. And then I got sick of people, so I got out of that and went into just worked at a factory. Like I always had a knack for science and math and mechanics and how things worked. So getting a machine operator job was easy, really advanced real quick into like maintenance and stuff like that, and got into building maintenance and different types of stuff. Kind of bounce around. I get a job and I kind of get really good at it, and then I get bored and do something stupid and quit or get fired, or just out of boredom. Yep. So bounced around a lot of different industries, learned a lot of different skills, a lot of different types of things, and always stayed in that maintenance and operation mode. And I got a job as a control room operator for a startup that was, they were just begging for employees because they were a startup, and they were making synthetic crude oil out of waste plastic, like plastic bags, grocery bags and stuff like that type of filmy plastic. And it was really cool, and it was a great experience that lasted for a while. And during that time, we moved up out of the suburbs. We were planning to buy a farm and escape like being in the grocery store, locked into the grocery store and wanted to provide for ourselves after we went through all these job losses and quitting and all this. We were like, man, if we had our own food, if we were producing our own food, that would make something like that a lot easier. And then maybe we'd be able to do it full time or whatever. So we had moved up here, and I was commuting back and forth. It was like, I think it was a 90 minute drive, 90 minutes. One way.
That's quite a commute.
Yeah, I was working like 14-hour days.
Man,
on this weird rotational schedule, and yeah, so we kind of poured ourselves into the homestead and tried to. I was making really good money, is why I did it. Like more money because the startup had grown, and I kind of accelerated through because I was there. I was like employee number 7. So, you kind of grow with the company, and I was there for 6 years. And so I've kind of just stayed on top of the heap. And then, so worked at the homestead doing that and providing more for ourselves and making a little extra
Was
money.
that the homestead that you're on right now still?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So that was about 8 years ago. We got pretty close there. So just kind of bounced around and made the decision that we wanted to start providing for ourselves a little bit. And we looked, and we took like a year to find this property when we were looking. We were in the suburbs, and we just found a farm, a 35-acre farm. And
wow.
Yeah, it was in our price range, and it was right on the edge of like how far we were willing to commute. Like literally the next town is outside of our radius that we did when we started looking. And like I said, we looked for a year. We originally looked at this place, and it was out of our price range. And we looked at a bunch of different types of property, like totally wooded lots with like a mobile home on it, and up to like established horse farms and just weird stuff. And our price range wasn't really the best at the time. So we thought we wanted like a minimum of 20 acres. But we wanted more than that. And so, it really limits the house you're going to get when you're buying that much land on a limited budget. It's even worse now. So we came back to this place, and it was like the only one that really stuck in our head as we were looking. And we threw a lowball offer in, like super lowball. Like it was the top end of our budget, and it was like super lowball for what it was priced. And we're like, this is the only place we found.
This is it. It's either this or nothing.
So it was listed with 40 acres and a farmhouse and a detached garage and a 60-foot long barn. It's like the base of the original barn, the concrete, and then they put a new roof on it. So there used to be a full barn on top of it, but it had come down. And then another like 3-sided chicken coop. And the house was like 1934 farmhouse, and the neighbor
probably needed a ton of work to get it livable.
Oh yeah. It was livable when we moved in. Like the lady that lived here had just passed away, and the neighbor is actually her son, who grew up in this house. And then when he came back from service, he built a house right next door, like literally next door. His driveway is like on the property line. So we're like out in the middle of nowhere, and we have nobody on 3 sides of us. And then we have a neighbor
right next to you.
Yeah. So that was kind of weird, but anyway, so we threw in a super lowball offer, and he came back and he's like, yeah, I can't do it for that, but I can cut 5 acres off. Cause he owns like the 80 acres around us, like an L. So he's like, I'll just slice off 5 acres. And he sent back the paperwork, and the line went right through a swamp. And I'm like,
well, who needs that?
Rock and roll, man. And come to turn out, my neighbors are super cool people, and like I hunt on their property. They're more than generous with using their land, so it really didn't make a difference anyway. But so that's how we lucked into this. And so we moved up here and started.
That's quite a lot of life experience. But probably used a lot of those things in building your homestead. What was you talk about wanting to grow your own food and do some of that stuff. Was there something deeper behind the desire to start a homestead, to go that route?
I don't know. It's always interested me. When I started thinking about providing for ourselves, it was kind of like the doomsday prepper era. And I started watching that, and I was like, whatever. It was, I watched it. Yeah, I was interested in it. It kind of,
it's good entertainment.
But I was like, no, like I'm not going to be and the other thing is, we saw our neighborhood deteriorating around us when we were in the suburbs. We were like in a first ring suburb of Minneapolis. and it was just kind of going downhill. Every house that was sold, we were like in a little neighborhood that was all original owners, that was built in the 70s and stuff. So they were dying or going to nursing homes or whatever, and they were selling, and it was being bought all by rentals. Like landlords were buying them up left and right, and then the neighborhood changed. I mean,
as they do.
yeah. So we were like, we want to get as far away from this as possible, buy as much land as possible to withstand any like development, because my brother-in-law actually moved 2 years before us, and he moved into a development. It was a contractor, like parceled out land, and he was way on the back of it, and he had like this swamp across the street from him, and the developer said there's no way we can ever build on that. You'll never have neighbors across the street. That's the last place we could ever build. Yeah, their neighborhood is so jam-packed full of freaking houses. They backfilled that thing and like built walkout basements, and yeah, it's just, I'm like, that's what we were trying to avoid, is the expansion. And I mean, we found it in this place. Like, man, if it wasn't
definitely
in
avoided the
Minnesota,
expansion, right?
well, yeah, and like it's perfect. Like we have swamp all around the back of us, and then yeah, there's no way anybody could ever build. We're in a watershed from one of the biggest lakes in Minnesota, and it's in a runoff to a river. So it's like we are the last property on the buildable land. And yeah, it's, if we could only move the property, I mean,
that would be awesome, wouldn't it? So what kind of things did y'all end up doing on your homestead? I know in your podcast you've had quite a few episodes about monetizing different things that you've done on the homestead, and with 35 acres, I mean, you can do almost anything with that. Talk about some of the things that you did to growing food, and then even, monetizing some of the stuff you did.
Yeah, man, we've only used like 10 acres so far.
Wow.
Like, yeah, we have a lot of our land is woods, and we have one back hayfield that is accessible on the back side of the property. But that was eventually going to be for like hogs, or like pastured hogs, because it's got a wood strip that went along with it. It's pretty nice setup. I think it would work out well, but we never got there. But we did. We put in a ton of gardens. We put in a bunch of perennials. We grow comfrey, asparagus, garlic, all sorts of stuff. Like trying to go down the list, but yeah, put in a huge garden system. We ran layers anywhere from, we started with 15 in year one, and I think at the peak we had well over 100 layers. We ran rabbits, like 60, 70 rabbits at a time. We did meat birds out, pasture raised meat birds, chickens and turkeys.
A little bit of everything. Kind of
ran quail. We did quail. I did a lot of like hatching sales. Like I think probably my most lucrative business was hatching chickens, selling chicken hatching eggs, baby chicks, quail hatching eggs, and baby quail.
Gotcha. So with the chickens, a lot of people look for a certain breed or something. How did y'all do that? Did y'all just mutt chickens?
Well, we started with a mixed flock. We bought a rainbow pack from like Myers Hatchery or someplace. It was just like there was a list of different types of chickens, and they sent you like, you're going to get 15 chickens, and it's going to be a mix of these. Like you're going to get 2 of some and 3 of some, but it'll be out of this, and they just randomly throw you whatever. And so we did that, and we started evaluating which ones we liked and which ones we didn't. We tried a little experiment with Delaware chickens as a meat bird. Didn't work out really well, but got some experience doing like pure, like one breed, purebred eggs and stuff like that, because we were going to hatch our own meat birds. But we evaluated which birds we liked, like visually and temperament and how they did in the winter and all stuff like that. And then we decided on a couple of cool ones, and then we just kind of ordered those. this was over like 2 years, and then we just decided we liked Welsimers, and we liked
I haven't heard of that one.
yeah, and then speckled Sussex,
Okay.
and then black copper Morans. There was a local lady that sold NCIP or whatever the chicken egg certification. I don't do certification,
gotcha.
so
Yeah.
like I don't know what it's called. Poultry people. She was certified by them to have like pure eggs or healthy eggs or whatever. So I hatched a bunch of those. So we had the 3, and we just kept them separate. And yeah, so we would take the eggs, keep them separate, and list them as hatching eggs, and usually try to sell them before they were actually laid. But up to a week, they were fairly fertile. Like it would really dip off after 7 days. So at 7 days, we would take the eggs we didn't sell for hatching eggs at a very high premium, like $25 a dozen, and then sell them as eating eggs. And since we fed our hens transitional organic, soy-free, corn-free feed, we got a premium for the eggs, eating eggs. And then we rarely got to eat eggs of our own. Like we'd have to steal them from our customers. We're like, oh yeah, I dropped a dozen and I can only get you 4 dozen, not 5 dozen. Sorry. Like I was freaking hungry.
Isn't it crazy how you talk about the hatching eggs versus the eating eggs? Just a little name change in there, and people will pay double or triple what they would normally pay.
Like the black copper Moran eggs they were fantastic, but they were like chocolate in the middle of summer. They were like a chocolate egg. They get darker over the season and then get lighter off into winter. And like in the peak of their richness, they were it would look like a chocolate egg. And
wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, so people want to hatch them and people want to raise them, so they're going to pay a shitload for like good eggs. Like if you get a picture of like, because the different lines and the different quality birds would have darker eggs. Like there was a difference in the lines. So if you found one that had really dark eggs, you'd pay a premium for those hatching eggs.
Yeah, wow, that's interesting. So
it was a whole new world to me, man. I was like trying to sling eating eggs for freaking like 2 years, and I'm like, this is stupid. There's got to be a better way. And I'm like,
it
really came to me.
Sell for hatching.
Well, it came to me. I was like flipping through the poultry catalog, and I'm looking, and I had this really nice cabinet incubator because I was going to start incubating chicks or incubating quail. And so I'm looking through the thing, and I'm like, God, hatching eggs are expensive. And I'm like,
light bulb.
I could sell them.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
What do you need? And then like I started looking into the NPIPP and all that crap, and it's all voluntary, technically. And I was just like, whatever. I'll just tell people that I'm not certified. Like these birds were hatched here, raised here, never left here. They don't have any diseases. I practice biosecurity. Like take it for what you want. I'm not going to pay somebody to tell me I'm doing a good job. Like I've went down that road. Like I played the game with our rabbits. We had to get our rabbits processed at a USDA inspected facility or an equal to facility to sell it, to deliver it or sell it at a farmer's market. And so I paid all this freaking money to the processor to process my rabbits. And so I didn't eat any of that product. Everything that I ate, I processed myself.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so like, I didn't eat the ones that I paid all this money to be able to sell. And so whatever, I'm selling them here and there, like not doing a whole lot of them. And some got put in the freezer and got a little too old to sell. And I was like, oh, well, I'll eat these, whatever. So I pop it open, and there were freaking rabbit turds inside the package. And I'm like,
oh no.
I'm like, so I paid all this money to be state certified so I could sell this thing. I will guarantee you there were no rabbit turds in any package that I packaged the ones that I packaged to sell. Like I will guarantee you that.
Wow.
And I was much more sanitary than like I showed up to the place. I had a round of chickens done there and a round of rabbits done there. I showed up to the place. I was like my place is fucking cleaner than this. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to. I don't want to
Oh,
ruin
you're good.
your. I don't have a filter. Like I've been in industry way too long and behind the bar way too long. I was just like, if
Oh yeah. So we'll talk about moving on from the homestead in a bit, but I'm curious, what was your favorite part? Y'all did a ton of different animals there and some of that stuff. What was your favorite animals to work with?
oh man, they're all so fun. I'll probably do them all again on a smaller scale. Like the direction we're headed, we want to just end up being. We don't want to have to sell a bunch of shit to survive. Like we just want to provide for ourselves and have a low standard of not low standard of living, low cost of living. I think my favorite, man, turkeys.
Turkeys? Yeah, I've never done turkey.
Turkeys.
Well, when I was a kid, we had turkeys, but it's been a while since I've messed with them too much.
Yeah, I mean, I really liked them all. I really enjoyed I like taking care of our animals. That was my deal. Like the gardening, I could take her or leave it. We were actually transitioning more to all perennials and like cash crop perennials, like comfrey and berry bushes and stuff like that. We were getting out of the market garden. Just wasn't worth it for us. We don't have the customer base here to do it part-time. Like if you're going to grow vegetables, sell, you're like drive to sell them. Like I'm pretty rural. Like my township has a couple hundred people, I think. And the town itself that's like 5 miles away has 800 people. So like,
yeah, you're
a
a
whole lot
little
of
ways out.
Yeah, so it made everything difficult. Like I love this property and it was like the property, but it was a really hard property to market product from. Either paying the extra. So when I had to get stuff processed, I had to drive 90 miles to do it. Oof. And then so that's 4 trips because I got to drop shit off, drive home, and then pick it up and drive home. And I have to pay extra to do that. And then I have to deliver the product 60, 70, 80 miles in the other direction to customers in the cities. Yeah.
That's
so
a lot of driving.
It was tough.
Yeah.
Or you did it cheaper on farm, but then you had to convince people to drive 60, 70, 80 miles to come to your farm, which is doable. We had plenty of that, just not, I mean, it wasn't enough to make it worth it, really, I guess.
Right. Yeah. So with all the time invested in it, sounds like you really enjoy the homesteading aspect, all the animals, the gardening and some of that. Maybe not the marketing, the product, but that's also part of that was because you're so rural. Why quit after 7 years invested?
It's cold, man.
It is Minnesota.
Yeah, it's I mean, that was the main driver. Like we want to, like I said, we want to go smaller when we eventually find someplace if we ever stop traveling. But where was I going to go? We were going to go smaller with it. But we want to do it for ourselves. And if we're going to be able to do that, we need to be able to do it for more than like 4 months. Like our summers here were just ridiculous because we were so busy trying to do a year's worth of stuff between like May. Like our last average frost date is May 20th.
Wow.
So
that's summertime.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So May 20th, and then our first frost date is like in October. So you have to do all your shit between then. Like I had turkeys out in the field. So, Thanksgiving, you're raising pasture raised turkeys and people are paying like $100, $120 for these turkeys. You don't want to slaughter it in September.
Right.
You want to slaughter it in like the week before they need it for Thanksgiving, so they never have to freeze it, or maybe even that week. Like there were plans like the next year. That was another story. We had all our turkey order canceled. Like they just called us the day before and said, "Oh, we're not sending you any turkeys." That I all had pre-sold in July. I had them all pre-sold in July for November. It was like locked, money's done. I picked up the food brought the food home, and the next day they called me and they said, "We're not sending you any turkeys." It was custom made, organic, corn, no soy turkey feed, like high protein for
Oh, wow.
pullets. 800 pounds of this shit, and I
That's
can't return
brutal.
it. I can't return it.
That's
Like,
brutal.
and the hatchery is just like, yeah, we had a bad hatch. I was like, yeah, I bet all your big customers are getting their turkeys. I only ordered.
Just take a couple from each of those, and they'll never miss them.
Yeah, I only ordered 40, so I know I'm not your big customer. So I'm sure I just don't. I'm down on the list, and so
Yeah,
yeah,
for
I kind of
sure.
abandoned that hatchery. But yeah, they got stuck in the field in like the last week, October. We got like 14 inches of snow or something stupid in a week. It was like 2 big snowstorms back to
Wow.
back, and then it was like warm. But my turkey tractors, I couldn't even move them. They were like impacted in the field. So here I got all these turkeys out there that I'm like trying to take care of, and they're like stuck in this little pen and no grass, and it's all shit. I'm like, that was like the moment we started to really realize we weren't staying here. And then it took like a whole year after that to convince, because I was like in October, and then the following August was when we were like, yeah, and then bought our trailer at the end of September.
Yeah, that's definitely the not so glamorous side of homesteading. If you follow any homesteaders on Instagram, they show you all the pretty pictures and the nice springtime and the fun things. They don't show you the freezing fingers and frozen water and turkeys stuck out. Seems like 10 miles from home when it's that cold.
Oh yeah, oh for sure, and yeah, and then the winter, and it's just dark and
Brutal.
cold, and now for the last last 4 years I've been working as a service tech for working on gas pumps. So I'm outside all summer, all winter. Like the other day I was working, it was -23 and like 30-mile-an-hour winds, and I was outside working on a freaking gas dispenser, and I'm like, this is just stupid.
Yeah, it's
Like,
no
I sit
wonder
there,
why you decided to move.
I sit there and I actually like, sometimes I just go, man, what life decisions really got me to this point in my life that I'm sitting out here in -20? I just like stop, and I can't even fathom why I'm doing it.
Yeah, the good thing is you can always go back and change. I mean, you can't go back and change, but you can change from here forward.
Oh
And that's
shit,
what
yeah.
you guys decided to do. So after you made the decision to leave Minnesota, what what kind of things opened up for y'all? What did that enable for y'all to do?
Oh, start like just imagining what we wanted to do. Because we were starting again, like we we were like, we want to go, so we knew we wanted to go somewhere a little warmer. We kind of looked at the map. I grew up in Western New York, and we were like kind of borderline 5-6. That was okay. I really didn't want to deal with all the snow again, so I was thinking more like 6-7. And so we started looking at the map, and we're like, oh, the mountains of Idaho. And I'm like, all right, yeah, whatever. So we started wanting to do like alternative living, like a yurt. We started looking into a lot of yurts. We're kind of not conformists. We kind of do walk to the beat of our own drum. I mean, my wife shaves her head. I mean, it's just like different. But we started reading a lot of different stuff and spirituality stuff and nature stuff, and nothing square in nature, like nothing's square in nature.
Yeah, nothing.
So we started looking at yurts, round building, kind of change up pace, and maybe change vibes and whatever. I don't know, calm down a little bit, because I'm all strung out all the time, like thinking about all sorts of different shit. And like, maybe if I could go sit in the woods in a round house, I'd be all right. But so that was our plan, man. We were gonna take off. We are gonna live outside the system. We are gonna, that's where the name came from.
Yeah, the lots
so we're gonna,
okay, yeah, that makes sense.
we're gonna go buy some raw land in Idaho and put a yurt on it and start again, and use all the skills and knowledge we learned here to just do it again in a different place. And we're like, oh yeah, great idea. Like, told our families, yep, we're outie, started looking at properties and all this. And we're like, yeah, what are we going to do when we buy this property? It's not like we get there and this yurt's going to be there, and it's going to be like, we can't do like just go there and go, oh,
Yeah.
so what are we going to do? We're going to have to like get an RV and be able to stay there. And I'm like, yeah. And I kind of want to build the yurt myself, because that's kind of my deal, like doing shit myself. And I was like, so that's going to take some time, and we're not going to have like power. Like the properties we were looking at, like if we could find one without power, it was less money. And like I want to be off grid eventually anyway. Like, so that was not a big deal to me. And I was like, well, so now I'm going to have this trailer. It's going to have solar. We're going to have to be able to live in it off grid. And so we started watching YouTube videos and learning about off grid trailers. And I was like, why are we moving to Idaho? I like asked Corey one day. She might ask me. I don't know. We were kind of thinking the same thing all at once, because we do that. Like we'll be thinking about, we'll be planning a project or something, and I'll be like, yeah, why are we going to Idaho? And she'd be like, I was been thinking about that, but I didn't want to ask you that because you seem kind of excited about it. I was like, yeah, I know, you seem excited about it too. But like, if we're gonna build this trailer to live off grid, why don't we just go find someplace to live? Or she's traveled a little bit kind of in the upper Midwest, and went to Florida once. And like I've traveled up and down the East Coast. I grew up in New York, so I went to Florida and drove up and down. So I've traveled that in a couple different places out west, but we haven't really seen this country, like just spots here and there. And we're like, why don't we just drive around, figure out how to make some money online or whatever, get remote jobs. This was before COVID, so that was like a long shot, remote jobs. And just find some place, look at properties, maybe buy one here and there, maybe 5 acres here, 5 acres there, and just figure it out. And because we don't want to do the big parcel anymore. Like we want to find the right smaller parcel in the right position to have the smaller, because if we're going to go smaller, we're not going to need the land, because we didn't even need it here for what we did. So maybe pick up 5 acres here or 10 acres there or whatever, and then we'll find a spot, we'll figure it out. And so that kind of changed directions, so that's where we're going now. So and so we started looking for trailers, and away we went.
So in the trailer, do you have it now, or you're still looking? Okay, yeah, and you're building that to be completely off grid.
It already is.
Is the plan just to travel until you find a part of the country you like, and just plop down? Yeah. So what will you do for, if you're quitting your job while you travel? What will you do for money during that time?
Well,
I mean, it takes some of that to live.
Oh yeah. We're still working on that. But my wife's been working remote for 6 years. 6 years, I think, 7 years, 6 years, part remote for at least 6 years, fully remote since before COVID. Since we moved up here, she does scheduling so her stuff is totally remote, doable. And I have enough computer backgrounds. I'm kind of working on trying to find a remote gig, work from home type tech support or customer service or something like that. But we got, the entrepreneurial mind never stops. So I got all sorts of stuff in the hopper for online stuff. We have website and all that jazz, and the little tiny income streams off of that. I dabble in cryptocurrency, so that's kind of fun, and can be different kind of options there. And we decided, so the trailer is done. We actually took one trip in it. We took a trip out. Yeah, we took a trip. So our original goal was to start traveling by going to Squatch Fest to meet Brian Norton. I think he was on your show.
Yeah, he was on the show 3 weeks ago, maybe.
Yeah, so I was a customer of his, buying coffee, and then he came up with this crazy Squatch Fest thing, and I was looking at the date, and I was like, okay, so if we get out of Minnesota at that time to go travel there, like it'll be before winter and all this stuff. So we kind of set a target to have everything done and travel out there and kind of launch from there. And we didn't get the house sold, and everything it didn't work out. It wasn't soon enough, and or the festival was too soon. So we made the trip. and tested everything out, though. Everything out worked great. Yeah, so that was a great
That's
experience.
fantastic.
Yeah, so yeah, looking for online work. But when I was out with Brian, so we did a little with Hip Camp here in our backfield. We have an empty field. Brian does a lot with Hip Camp on his property that he had Squatch Fest. It was a really small event in the fall. The weather was horrible and everything, but I mean, I had a fantastic time. It was exactly what I needed. The trip and everything was just fantastic. And but I talked to him about how he was running his Hip Camp and how he developed the property, and it all started kind of spinning in my head. And as we were traveling, we were staying at BLM land and free sites like that. The thing I kept hearing was in the summer, because this nomadic lifestyle has gotten so popular, that the free places are disappearing. Not disappearing,
Right.
they're just full. We
Yeah.
were traveling like on the very tail end. Like we had snow one night when we were coming
Wow.
back. So we were like borderline whether we should, like, there was a hard freeze 2 days after we got back to Minnesota. So it was like we got back here, I had to strip all the batteries, everything out of the trailer, winterize it, drain all the water, like when we got back. And so yeah, so I was talking to him about his property and how he manages all that and the work he's done. And I was like, I could do this for people. I could do this for people. I have experience with it. Like since then has been like a huge deep dive into like the mechanics of doing the listings and the marketing of the sites and stuff like that. Like the development of the sites is second nature to me after working on the homestead and actually doing that.
Right.
So yeah, right now we're kind of signing people up to for properties. Like if they have a secondary property that they don't use, rural land, if they have a back part of their property that they don't use, like we had in the back of our property, yeah, or wherever that you think you could have a Hip Camp. If I don't know if everybody knows what that is or not, but
I think most people do. If they don't, they probably haven't found the podcast yet. Most people have heard of it, or yeah.
So yeah, so
would you be managing these for people, or what?
whatever
What's the
level they
aspect
want,
that you're tying into there?
whatever, however much the interaction they want. Like I will offer just a, hey, this is what I would do from looking at it, just a observational perspective,
Right? A little consultation.
Yeah, setting the site up, like actually doing the work, going there and staying there and doing the work, and getting it set up, all the way to setting up the listing and managing the listing for them, taking the calls from the customers if there's complaints, interacting with the guests, finding someone if there's an issue, finding someone local to take care of that. Brian on his property had a camp host, somebody that lived there that kind of did a little permaculture thing. If that's something that somebody wants, I could coordinate that, because I'm tying into a group of nomads also. And so I have my whole homesteading world and that type of thing, but now I'm in this community of nomads and full-time RVers and schoolies and this whole community of people that are
two together somehow,
that are looking to go and maybe be able to stay at some place, but they'll clear 6 campsites, so then managing that that work, or like a camp host for you get to stay here for free, just watch the place. It depends on what the landowner wants. If they want that security, if they don't really give a shit, they just want somebody to swing through every 3 months, and then I find some kid in town and pay him to go out and do that, and we just split the listing. Like long term, like they just get a check if they want me to run it. Like I'd handle all the payments and just send them a check at the end of the month for their cut.
There you go. Yeah, and so kind of like a work trade on some of that, and just connecting people here and there.
Yep. And then eventually what the whole sky high picture in the beginning was a private network of landowners and campers that are verified. Like you're not gonna screw up my land, and I'm like-minded. Like, we're freedom-oriented people. Do what you want on my property. Just don't fuck my shit up, and we'll be good. And then a group of campers that are vouched for and that are zero impact or low impact campers that are like, because I'm self-contained. Like, I have a composting toilet. I don't have any black water. I have solar. I don't need any electrical hookups. Like, we went out to Brian's and back, so it was a 13-day trip, and we ran our generator for 20 minutes. And the whole time we were at Squatch Fest, from the Thursday we pulled in till the Monday morning we pulled out, it rained. Like, it rained a lot. So my solar wasn't doing jack shit. Like, I had 230 amp hours of lithium batteries, so I can draw that way down. And then I got like 1,350 watts of solar for recharging it. And we don't use any power. Like, we don't have it. We don't own a TV. The first thing we took out of our trailer was the microwave, because we haven't owned a microwave for like 9 years. Like, I haven't owned a TV for well over 2 years. Like, I have a laptop. She's got a tablet, and we got 2 cell phones. So what power?
And if you run most of the appliances off propane, then I mean that takes away a lot of what typically draws those down.
Yep. So I mean, I'm pretty low impact when I go someplace. Like, I might actually improve your land, because I might take my human manure and fertilize your trees or something.
Yep.
So yeah, finding a network of people like that are trusted, and that and then also be able to provide that land for maybe workshops. If somebody wants to hold an event, they can rent that land and provide, like, you can provide event coordinators and whatnot. And then the other side of that business is, I'm looking for homesteaders that want a consultation or need some help on the farm. Like, I'm not above being a hired hand or just a help for the weekend, or you need eyes on a project that you can't figure out. You just want help. I mean, I've kind of designed a whole bunch of crap here. And I've done more research than I've used. Like, I've done more that I haven't used than what I have used. So I got a lot going on that I could help you out with. Or maybe you just want to swing in, stay, and say hi, and just
there you go.
Throw us a meal or something and be on the podcast, or whatever. Like, whatever.
Well, if you swing through Kentucky on your tour, you got a place here you can pull in.
Oh, for sure. Like, yeah, and that network is, so it's really scary. We decided to do this right before the whole shit broke loose, and so by the time it got stupid and there were shortages and lockdowns and all that crap, we were already in. Like, we had the trailer, like, I had solar panels ordered. Like, there was no like, oh yeah, we're not going to do
backing out.
Yeah. So it's scary. It's scary thinking, like, I provided, like, I didn't go to the grocery store for like 4 years. I like stupid. Like, I had a hydroponics garden in my kitchen and all the protein I could ever want out the door and in the freezers. And now I don't have anything. And the network of people and the fact that I know I have marketable skills, hard skills, mechanic skills, carpentry skills, electrical skills, like all this stuff that I've developed here, plus the consultation and the knowledge of all the stuff that isn't physically doing, and the community that I'm tied into that I can market that to, can help me get by. Like, I'm not looking to thrive. Like, if shit falls apart, I'm looking to get by, and like, our community is so great for that. So I can provide value, and I know other people can provide resources.
Yeah, and I can see how homesteaders and even people who have the back lot that they're not using and don't know how to use, there's a lot of value there that it sounds like you can and are going to provide. I can imagine when people hear about it, they're going to be all over it. Do you have a date for when you kick off?
Oh man, as soon as possible. Like,
as soon as the snow melts enough for you to get out.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, it's all, like, I got a steady job right now that like, I hate looking for jobs. Like, as much as I got bored and quit or got fired, like, I hate looking for jobs. It's the worst thing in the world for me because, like, I was on the hiring team at that startup. So I know all the HR canned questions and all the bullshit. And it drives me up the wall. Like, I could get hired at your job. I just don't want to go through the process to do it.
Yeah.
So I've been lazy and, well, not lazy. I mean, I put out 6 podcasts a week, so I guess I'm not lazy. Like, I haven't fit in that shit that I hate looking for a job. I have started reaching out to contacts, former industry contacts and stuff like that, and trying to. It's a really specialty niche. I would be happy being like a technical support for like a product.
Okay.
Like the guys I call when I can't figure out what I'm doing, and they have a computer, and it's not hard. Like,
Right.
I can learn it. It is hard, but it comes natural to me. And so those positions are usually hired within, like, technicians usually get hired to do that stuff because they have the experience to do it. Like, I feel that I could learn it quick enough to be of value to them, but yeah, it's just like, it's not normally the entrance ramp that you're going to get to that job. So I'm reaching out to some contacts, seeing what I can do, maybe find something. If I got to take some bullshit job for whatever until something kicks off, I mean, I'm not above that. I've done that my whole life. So
you do what it takes to get by sometimes until you find the right fit.
Yeah, so we'd really like to see, like I said, last frost date's May 20th. I would love to hit Float Fest. I mean, that would be fantastic.
I've heard about that. What's the date on that one?
End of April. It's right after Nicole's.
Actually, I think I just saw she mentioned it's the same weekend.
Yeah, like yeah. So I would love to. I would love to target that. I did out the math, and if I do like a couple bonus episodes of my podcast, I could literally do episode 100 live from Float Fest.
Oh, that'd be cool.
On Float. So I'm actually considering it. I'm still trying to warm the wife up to it. If we can't pull the trailer down there, I would love to go down and help Brian run his coffee shop and kind of promote what I got going on. If I can make a reasonable case to my wife and figure out how to pay for it, I'm sure I would be able to go. But yeah, if we get a warm snap, like we get this weird weather where we'll get spring, we have like, I think Corey just did a video on our YouTube channel of our fence. So we got a 4-foot woven wire fence. I put in an acre's worth of fence by hand. Yeah, it was what a project that was. It sucked. Never do it again by hand, but
I can imagine.
But yeah, so she took a video. It's a 48-inch fence, and the snowdrifts are over top of it. Like, so yeah, so we got 48 inches of snow in some places. So, but the driveway is cleared out and the trailers in the driveways. So if we get a warm snap,
there you go.
And I can put all the batteries and stuff in the thing with like a decent forecast, and we have both found remote jobs. Yeah, we're pulling that shit out. Especially if we both have remote job, because then we can still service the mortgage and we don't have to try to sell it in winter. But yeah, I don't know. We've kind of changed this, made this turn of just kind of going with it in our lives. Since we moved up here, kind of shit happens. So
just go with it.
Yeah. Ride the wave, man. Just figure it out. Since we don't really know where we're going anyway. We really don't know when we're going to start. It's just, it'll happen when it happens, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, if I could book a bunch of consultations between here and Float, I'm sure I'd be able to figure out how to get that trailer out.
There you go. Yeah. What did it feel like to you guys when you made that decision to get out of the cold?
Scary as shit, but very freeing. Like it was a relief that. So. Oh man, it was a really big relief that I wasn't gonna have to deal with it ever again. But then we ended up having to come back, and I'm dealing with it right now. So it's getting closer. Like, we've really hit this week is probably one of our last like really cold weeks. Like today, this morning, it was like -5 when I went to work and got up to like +9 or something like that. And that's kind of like the rest of this week. But then we get up into like daytime highs in the 20s and 30s. So it's a little easier to deal with. it doesn't sound warm, but it's 60 degrees warmer than what it was like 3 weeks ago. So like I'll be in a hoodie and
I'm
jeans at
I'm
like
out.
25 degrees. Like, yeah, it's like summer. It's
Oh man,
like
no,
when all the
it
old
was in the
people.
low 30s here today, and I was about to throw in the towel and call it quits. uh,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So we're getting to the home stretch of winter. Like I won't be here next winter. Like I don't give a shit like what I got to do. I will not go through another Minnesota winter. It won't happen.
mhm.
Like if I got to drag the trailer and walk away from the house, like I'm not gonna obviously do. Like I could sell this house, but
Oh yeah,
yeah, whatever I got to do to get out of here because this is stupid. Like I said, I sit at work sometimes and I just sit outside. Like I could go sit in my van. I just like sit on the curb outside and the winds hit me in the face. I'm just like, what am I doing? Like my face is all ice and
yeah, not fun at all.
no.
What? Going back to the lots project a little bit, long term, like big picture, what does the future of it look like? As far as, do you see it becoming like a Airbnb Verbo type of thing down the road? Is what's your overarching goal there?
Oh man, like high pie in the sky. Like if everything fell into place.
Oh, absolutely. That's what you shoot for with your goals.
So I would build a network of contacts with the land, either through the consultation or the management of those properties, build that relationship with them and the trust with them, and at the same time interact with the nomad community and get to know people and figure out some sort of vouching system to where you've camped with somebody enough that you know they're good and they know the ethics of what we're looking for in other people, so they can go and recruit or certify other people. And then I'm going to build it on HipCamp, like my business using
Right.
HipCamp. But eventually I'm hoping to have enough properties where I can just be like, hey, people that we all know we're all good, from landowners to let's do this on our own in private outside the system. Maybe use crypto or as a private membership, and have some benefits in it for the landowners. Like we talked about, I was on Loose the Goose and kind of talked about the pie in the sky
Right.
idea of this, and like benefits for landowners where they have reciprocity for a bug out location, or different benefits for different members that do workshops or throw festivals or whatever, that you can hire them to do whatever.
Yeah.
Just open agora between the nomadics and the landowners and the property that is currently just sitting fallow or unused, or
Yeah, that's definitely something that's needed, because it seems like there's a community of people that have the land and often don't know what to do with half of it, and they talk amongst themselves and they're doing their own thing trying to figure out what to do with it. And then you've got the community of nomads who are trying to figure out where to go. So that's awesome if you reach that high pie in the sky thing there.
or I might just travel around for a couple of years and help some people set some stuff up, and then go find my own property and stop. But
There
Corey
you
and I
go.
have committed to traveling for at least a year.
Okay.
I know it's going to be more than that. Like on our trip out and back, it was fantastic, and we weren't even able to experience fully because we were only staying. The only more than one night at the same place was at Squatch Fest. So as we're taking off, even if we're not doing the consulting, if we're just doing part-time work or whatever, we would stay someplace for a couple weeks, or at least 4 or 5 days. Some places have limits, like if we were on BLM land or whatever, there's like 2-week limits or 10-day limits, but more than one night. But even traveling and moving every day, it was fantastic. Like I enjoyed it so much. I wrote on the whiteboard that's in my bedroom in there, and it was just like, remember what this feels like. And I took a bunch of pictures of it, and then it's on my computer as my background screen. And it's just, yeah, because it was great. Like, I enjoyed it so much, so I can't see not liking it enough to do it for more than a year.
Mhm.
You know, so we'll see. I don't know. We're open to whatever, but we have committed for at least a year from the time
Oh,
we
that's
take it off.
awesome. That's cool. Super excited to see what comes out of that as far as the stories on the podcast and all of that.
Yeah, but
So,
it's gonna make for great content, man. It's
oh,
like it's gonna be
absolutely.
like stupid easy content. Like, what am I gonna talk about today? Well, what did I do yesterday?
Right? Yeah. What kind of pickle did I get that landowner out of, and how did I help him design all of that? And yeah,
Yeah,
you'll
and
have
eventually,
unlimited ideas.
yeah, eventually I want to take a permaculture course, and I might actually had some crazy ideas and brainstorming with Brian today about how to do that, and possibly finding a landowner that wants a project improvement, and a permaculture instructor that wants to do a PDC, and kind of,
Bring them together. Yeah.
I mean,
Well, hey, I mean, I've got 20 acres here, and I'm planning on having Nick Ferguson come out next spring. I'm just saying.
yeah, I mean, yeah, the
Uh,
possibilities are endless. So yeah,
yeah,
I mean, I don't. I've studied enough. I understand the concepts, and I haven't taken the classes.
yeah,
It's all been self taught. So I can't market myself as a permaculturist, but
right.
I kind of know what I'm doing as
You're a
far as,
designer that uses permaculture principles.
yeah, and has almost a decade of a homestead experience, I
Oh
guess.
yeah, and that speaks to a lot, because anybody can go get do a cheap PDC and still not know half the stuff that you would know with all the experience on the farm.
Right. Yeah, Carrie Brown and I kind of talked about that. I think it actually was in like our after show, but
Okay.
yeah, like I can read all the books, and I mean, there's PDCs online that you can just find and read.
Right.
Like, what I don't have the hands on, like, I'm pretty sure I just had 10 years of it.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So
Not
I'm
that
gonna
I'm
have a bunch of your links that you sent me. I'll drop those in the show notes. Tell us about your favorite recent podcast that you did that we can send the guys to listen to.
ooh. Oh, favorite one?
Or the one
Oh,
you had the most fun recording
you talking like day, like
of your own podcast.
of the
Yes.
my daily or my interview? Because I think Amy's interview is pretty good.
Okay. Yeah.
Um,
All right. I'll definitely drop that one in the show notes too and send folks there to listen to that. Anything else you want to leave with us, or a piece of advice or wisdom or something that you want to give the good folks of Constructive Liberty before we go?
oh man, just, I mean, follow what feels right. Figure, like, really step back and evaluate things, and go with what feels right. I've really started to follow nature and watch nature a lot in the last 7 years, 8 years up here. Even before that with hunting, I'd noticed it a little bit, but really working with the land. And I've noticed that everything in nature knows what to do. Like, they the geese know when to fly south, the geese know when to fly north, the chickens know how to hatch baby chicks, and so nature knows it just knows what's right. So if you can detach yourself from all the programming out there, and the TV, and the sugar addictions and everything, and you can just listen to your body and listen to your mind, it knows what's right. Like, nature tells you what's right. So it might be a little hippy dippy and shit like that, and that's
Oh
really
no.
not me. But yeah, yeah,
It's
just listen to your body and listen to your mind, but
Yep.
make sure it's the truth.
Yeah. And Amy said, nature knows and humans complicate. So true. We tend to overthink things and don't listen to the things that we should listen to.
Yeah, yeah, for
Brian,
sure.
I've really enjoyed the chat. Hope you'll come back on the podcast at some point.
Anytime, anytime.
Yeah, and I'm going to be on Brian's show here coming up in a couple of weeks. I'm not sure if we're doing that one live,
Yep,
if are we doing that one live? Okay, awesome. I think that's
yep,
5th,
yep. March
if I
5th.
remember right. There we go. So
March 5th, 11 a.m.
there you go. Guys, go check out that interview that Brian did with Amy. I'll drop that link in the show notes, and check out all the other cool stuff he's doing. And if you've got a piece of property that you don't know what to do with, you know who to contact now.
Yep. thelotsproject.com. It's pretty easy. And then all the stuff, you can find anything there, and all my links. So
we'll have the links in the show notes. Brian, I enjoyed chatting with you.
All right, man. Have a good night.
Yep, you too.